amounts below the line. I buy one color toner every year to use in the printer, and we pay for my Government Finance Officers Association dues. Next line item is HR department, page 29. And Connie always puts together a very good write-up handout, which you see on page 23, where she talks about some of the things she does every year. And she's done, she's expanded on things like the police and fire testing, the drug testing that we have to take part in each year for some of the workers. She does all the work along with Chris Moore on the workers' comp end of things for all of our employees. One of the bigger programs that we have going right now is Employee Assistance EAP, where it helps people in times of need with any type of problems they may have. But you can see down below, the very bottom of that page, on page 23, due to the mayor's real hard push on police and fire testing, the last couple of years, the numbers have been up for both of those tests compared to what we've had in the past. So I think that's a pretty good thing we can be proud of. Page 30 is the Office of Civil Service, which handles the testing portion for the police and fire, where we get the different the proctors, we get the testing material for people taking the tests, and also the fire department has annual testing for promotions within their department. The Connie oversees those also. The next department is page 31, the Office of Accounting, which is all the accounting personnel, where the people that help our department put together the budget, the weekly bills, the weekly all the flow of documents. We put together the CAFR on an annual basis, cost allocation plan, a multitude of different things. The expenditures there have gone down a little bit. We're moving more to a paperless system. We're working with our software company to buy their newest upgrades, which we think are going to help us even move to a more paperless bill paying system. So next year should be a lot better with the movement of paper. The controller, Teresa Stankiewicz, has been helping with that program. For my office, Lisa, Christine, and Andrew have been all working on that program. It's just, we're having difficulty with the movement of how the software is going, but it's something that we're really going to be proud. I'm positive next year at this time we're going to be proud to say that we've accomplished that. The next page is our payroll department. Again, that's very, very little, other than the two people in that department, very little spending. We buy some office supplies, which are normally the W-2s that we hand out each year. Not too many people left that are still getting paper checks, but we still have some people that get paper checks, so we have to buy paper and all the toner cartridges, pens, and the like that go along with that. The next department is on page 34, and that's the Office of IT. And again, I hope everyone's had a chance to scan through the two-page write-up that Brian King did on some of the things that he's, page 32, showing some of the things he's planning on instituting next year, but also page 31, all of the day-to-day services that department provides for everybody here, and including the police and fire department and the public works department too. In the age we're in, we're moving to more computer services, Brian and his crew are constantly dealing with IT issues. And he'd be a good one next year to have come down. I know he's come down and helped everybody install computers when we got the laptops, but maybe him give a presentation sometime at a finance committee meeting on all the day-to-day operations that they take part in. Next is the Office of Purchasing. We've lost an FTE there last year, so it's now a one-person office handling all the purchase orders, all the resolutions, all the requisitions, and all the contracts that go through our department. Advertising, though the dollar amount is moving down a little bit, we're doing a lot more online things. So even though the cost of advertisements and the cost of putting things in the paper are going up, with us doing less paper type advertising, we're spending less there. The last department in this grouping is the print shop. Again, another one-person office and printing everything, everything that we have printed. And just from our office, Randy Procius prints the budget books. He prints the CAFRs for us. Any documents, he prints the real estate tax bills each year, all the late notices for the tax bills. So there's a lot of printing that goes on in that department on a daily basis. His only real operating supplies are his biggest expense, and that's for mostly his paper and toner cartridges. He has 3 or 4 different repair and maintenance service agreements that take up that $5,000 that he spends in that line item. And before I open up to questions in those departments, I wanted to go through on page 35 in the handout book, but page 66 in the budget book, the Office of General Government. If everybody's ready there. And I'm going to go down through these line by line. I know I do this every year and everybody's aware of what these things make up, but just to rehash that. The first line item, the Office of General Government, is the employee payouts. And we had, budgetarily speaking, a bad year this year with regard to that line item, due to the fact that we had a lot more retirees in the fire department come through than we were thinking were going to happen. We know, like, going into next year, we budgeted $1.1 million, knowing that 8 police officers have signed up for the drop and 4 fire persons have signed up for the drop. But sometimes, is what happened this year, we had about 10 people that retired that we weren't, in our calculations, as I'm giving you the 8 and 4, we weren't aware these people were going to retire last year. And as we all know, with the payouts that the police and fire get when they retire, we were under budgeted in that line item. Next line item is the unemployment compensation, unemployment for the employees that, 1, are laid off, 2 are just separated from service, or in the case of police and fire, if they're made to mandatorily retire at their retirement age, be it 65 or Social Security eligible, they're eligible to collect unemployment. The professional services line item, referencing that, I think it's best to go to the budget handout book on page 35, and we go down through the different things that make that line item up. Our audit fees, we council approved the contract for the new auditing fee for the new auditing firm, sorry, that we're going to have starting right after the first of the year. It's a little bit less of a contract than we've been paying in the past. Berkheimer fees, next line item, are going up this year because we pay Berkheimer based on the contract the Erie County Tax Collector's Office has negotiated with Berkheimer. We pay 1.5% of all the collections that we make on the earned income tax, the LST tax, and the special levy. So the more we collect, the more we pay Berkheimer, which I guess is a good thing that we're paying him more because we're collecting more. Employee services, $4,000. That's our cafeteria plan. Legal services and fees, that would be the solicitor's office. Manufacturers Association is the annual dues. Miscellaneous banking, legal, and professional, $12,000. That is mostly to the various banks we use for checking and savings accounts and the fees that go along with those things. And when we throw through, you know, $100 million each year in deposits, we actually pay pretty low percentage. The next line item, Penimation annual updates, $90,000 is what we pay on an annual basis to our software company for our what the treasurer's office uses, what the accounting office uses, and all the peripherals to that. Actuarial services, $9,000 is the annual fee to our actuary for helping with all of our pension numbers. Tri-County Letter, we have a mailing service that comes in and handles our mail, and that we pay it actually less than what the first class postage is. And then miscellaneous, we always budget $10,000, not knowing what could come up in any given year. Education and training, $15,000, miscellaneous seminars, conventions and functions that may go on here at City Hall. Neekan's spoken to everybody last Friday and the Friday before about some of the things which she's doing with the language access. And she's already told me that we need $2,000 or $4,000 in that line item based on the contract the council approved. I'm going to say it not last night, but the meeting before. Then our other services and charges, what makes up that line item? The Bank of New York, which is the paying agent for all of our bonds. So we don't have to write out checks to people that own our bonds. Bank of New York handles that for us. Our cost allocation plan, the dog licenses that the treasurer's office sells, $25,000 to the Erie County Data Center, which is helping us with the code enforcement department and also our streets department. We budgeted $20,000 for the summer jams program. And again, as I mentioned, with Berkheimer's contract with the Erie County Tax Collectors Association, we pay them a $2,200 fee to be a member of that organization. There's miscellaneous legal bond and appraisal fees, $64,000 every year. So we have basically lawsuits that we're brought into, where be they appraisals of buildings, or as Dave and Chuck are no longer on, but we always are involved in the curb ramp lawsuits, where we have to pay the lawyer from Detroit that has been suing us for almost 20 years on behalf of the curb ramps. League of Cities dues, PELRAS dues, UPMC Life Solutions, which is a program that is run through the HR department, sort of like the EAP, to help out employees in U.S. Conference of Mayors, and the Vista intern program. We've had a couple Vista interns the last few years that have been paid out of this line item. Next line item is our risk management property casualty. That's the percentage, the 600 or 465,000 is the amount proportionally that this general fund, through all the buildings and property the general fund owes, that is paid to the risk management fund. Council of Government, we make a stipend payment to the Council of Government every year. We budgeted $20,500, but we just got their budget about a week ago after our book was prepared, and it's going to be $19,669 again this year. $50,000 to the DID. We give the Erie County Human Relations Commission $15,000. Next in line is EMTA. They've asked us for $511,000 for next year based on the budget that they have in place and what we owe them based on the contract we have between the city of Erie and EMTA. Next line item is CAM, what used to be the cable, what's actually their correct title is the City of Erie Cable Access Corporation, but CAM, we've gave them $100,000 in the budget. Erie Zoo Gas, the gasoline that we're paying up at the zoo, $40,000 we have budgeted for that. Regional Chamber Growth Partnership, $25,000. And the last line item there is the real estate taxes of the taxable portion of the cell phone tower up on Hilltop Road. And that's general government.
Oh, I had a question. For professional services, is there any way to reduce that cost, or those are all done and we can't negotiate any of those fees?
David, those are, the audit fee went out for contract. That was bid out. Berkheimer was bid out through the Erie County Tax Collectors Association. EES has been a contract in place. We've been paying that same amount for years and years and years. Ed Betz's and Gary Vasheko up there are, via contract. Everything else is pretty much Penimation updates, our software company. That's the fee they charge us. When we bought that software back in 1999, we signed a contract that said we're going to pay X amount of dollars. So I'd love to say yes, David, but most of those are agreements that are in place. And as I said, the biggest line item there is the Berkheimer. The state mandated that the county take over the collection of the taxes. The Erie County Tax Collectors Group bid out that service a few years ago. Berkheimer won as the lowest responsible bidder. So the more we pay them, the more we're getting in tax income.
Paul, you mentioned that, do these go out to bid every year? You mentioned one was an agreement from 99.
No, that was the software that we bought.
Okay,
the Penimation annual updates are an agreement that's in place based on the software we bought in 1999. We got a grant to buy, you guys approved it last night as a group, to get new software for the code enforcement office. If we got new accounting and tax treasury software, that number may very well change, but we paid $800,000 for the accounting software back in 1999, and we've had vendors come in over the past, and it's every bit that much. And they normally charge you a 10% stipend each year for service and support.
Okay. I mean, something that goes on for 21 years, you ask about,
Oh, Jim, I'm absolutely in agreement with you, but we have the software. We bought the software from this company. We're using it.
It's been worthwhile and it's been worthy of using. And, you know, I know some software, there is issues sometimes, but it has been an asset, I guess, to
Yeah,
the city.
I can go back to 10 years ago when right before Brian King took over the IT department, Steve Benson was here, and he and his brother, his two brothers, had written the software for Mayor Tullio back in the late 80s. And he came back and he was the IT manager here for 5 or 6 years. And he always talked about our software being, it's not caviar, it's more meat and potatoes, but it gets the job done. I mean, so do we want to spend $750,000 to $1 million to buy new software where we're still going to have these service agreements and support agreements every year to get something new that may be flashier, but it's not going to do
Anything more, per se.
anything more.
Okay. You may
I'm going to
continue.
bring this up again. It's going to be controversial, but I'm going to say it anyways. The EMTA, years ago, the county did talk about taking that over. I don't know if there's any more discussion, but $500,000 a year is a lot of money. So I don't know if there's any more discussion on it, but a few years ago, we did talk about board control and about the county taking over. So I'm putting it out there. I mean, I think everything's on the table right now. So I know it's going to be controversial even asking the question, but I'm asking.
And even then, Paul, with their service being down this year with the COVID, I think they did cut routes and then the price tag went up from last year.
Well, they're having a harder time. Well, obviously their revenues are down and their expenses are up. And also, as you're correct, their ridership's down. If you look at their financial statements, 17, 18, 19 ridership was down. Who knows what it's like this year. But David, you're absolutely correct. I mean, when you were on council before, we were giving them $250,000, $260,000 a year. And because their revenues are down, the way that contract's written, we and the county have to make up our percentage, our contractually negotiated percentage of what we owe or what we need, what they need to make up. That's on, we're on the hook for that.
And the county at that time, they proposed taking over all the MTA, which was really a board control issue. And we all know there was a controversy with the prior mayor.
Correct.
And doing that. And of course, some council members. So I'm just bringing it up.
When is the charter up? Do you know that, Paul, with the MTA or?
I don't have, it's over in the file cabinet. I could find that. I do not know that answer.
Alrighty. Anything else, council, on that portion of it? Paul, you want to continue?
Well, council, you have your budget and the clerk. The mayor's office for mayor, do you want to speak to your budget, or did you want me to just go through the numbers of what's there?
Paul, you can go ahead and go through it.
Okay. Mayor's office on page 20. Above the line, the same number of FTEs. We're going to look at -1. One was moved from the mayor's office over to, we're going to talk about right next. But below the line spending in the mayor's office with everything that happens day to day up there is actually going down by $300. So the mayor's doing everything he can to save money in that office. The next department is Department 205, which used to be the Code Enforcement Department, Kathy Reistick's new department. FTEs are up 2 because she moved over from the mayor's office. We have a new preservation planner, which council approved, and that's going to be paid, most of it by a grant. Now, below the line is where we pay for, I mean, if you look at the below the line, you know, $550,000, $540,000 looks like a large number, but the vast majority of that is in your line 4059, and that's the BIU fee that we pay to them every year for doing the rental inspections. Also in there is in that grouping of numbers is our Executive Pulse, which is the software we have for the rental inspection program. And hopefully the new software that you approved last night is going to work so that we won't have to use Executive Pulse anymore. But we'll have to see what that happens in the next year or so once that software gets installed. Otherwise, the spending there is either on a downward trend or level. Your office supplies and the like.
But once again, Paul, with those expenses, that's a, what's the term I want to use? A neutral.
Yes.
We're not losing that money.
No, you're correct. We're doing those inspections, but the inspections are coming back through on page 16, revenue line item 3223. We're collecting money in the rental license inspection fee, and then we're paying it to BIU to do the work of inspecting the properties for us.
Okay. I mean, I was just wondering where else it was in our book to offset that. Continue, I'm sorry.
We'll come back to this. Oh, no, sorry. The solicitor's office is next. Same number of FTEs there. And below the line, the solicitor's office has some mostly legal books, legal West Law Library, things that they use, special counsels. Same amount of money being spent, down a couple $1,000s. And in defensive ed, or Ed's budget, I mean, they've gone down a couple people in the last 3 years. So they need these, all the services that they're paying for. The treasurer's office on page 25, Kaz wanted to speak next week on his own. And really that is it. Other than page 26 and 27 that the controller could talk about. And I love saying the controller.
Ms. Stankiewicz, you with us?
Well, my budget hasn't changed. Increase. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. We hear you.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So the FTEs stayed the same. The actual only increase I'm going to have is maybe in the salaries a little bit, because I'm going to have some changes in some people. I'll have a big retirement coming up, and there'll have to be some training and things like that involved. But I think over the years, we pretty much kind of kept our budget to the absolute bare minimum that we could, always returning a little bit of money to Paul. And it's pretty much the same as it was the previous year. So that's really just about it in my budget.
Thank you for your commitment to Erie when you barely get paid compared to your deputy city controller.
I enjoy what I do.
Well, really,
You must.
you know,
So do
that's
we.
something to say for you and your service, because you're definitely underpaid. Thank you.
And then I guess the last two budgets are the budgets that council controls. Page 18 and 19, the Office of City Council and the Office of City Clerk. And Lori sent those up to me, so I'm just gonna assume that you as a group have already approved that. So, and no questions, I'm sure you've already talked about it, so.
Very good.
Liz is saying something, but she was on mute. Liz, were you wanting to say something?
I have no information about what's in the city clerk budget.
Should be right.
No one talked to me about it. And also, I think that we should eliminate the line item for health insurance for city council. If we're going to talk, I talk about cutting the budget, you need to start where in-house. So I think we should eliminate health insurance for city council members. No one else has come up with any cuts.
I don't get health insurance. Does anyone else?
I don't. Let's do a poll of who gets health insurance.
I do utilize it and I contribute.
I don't care.
I don't care. I do.
Well,
Okay.
I think we should
I'm
eliminate
telling
it.
you.
Liz, if we,
There's a very small contribution from employees to their health insurance. It's a way to save $147,000, I believe.
no, it's not.
What is
If
it?
we take that 147,000 out of your budget, I'm just gonna proportionalize it into all the other budgets of the city of Erie.
How much do we spend for, I asked you how many city council members get health insurance and you did not tell me. So how many
You're
get it?
absolutely correct. I'm not gonna answer that question. because-
Why? That should be public information, the number of council members who get
Ask
health
each of
insurance.
your-
Do I have to file a right to know to
Please.
get that information? Do you want to be embarrassed by a council member again filing a right to know? How many council members get health insurance?
I don't know.
I'm asking my colleagues, how many get health insurance?
I do.
How many times do I answered once. Do I gotta dwell on it?
So we have two people who get health insurance so far.
I get it.
Who's that?
This is Mel.
For part-time jobs, you get health insurance.
Yeah, for a part-time job, for full-time service, I get 6,000 a year. My
Yeah,
check
and
that I
also
receive,
you're
my check
eligible
that I
for
receive,
Medicare.
my check that I receive is $44 every 2 weeks. So I pay something into that health insurance.
See, when the public accuses us of taking perks, it turns out that not everybody gets the perks. It's a select group.
Select group. Nobody's ever accused me of getting a perk in my 10 years.
Well,
Just saying.
Yeah, I'm going on 20 in another 2 or 3 years, and I've never been accused of that.
Oh, you've never heard anybody talk about the perks that city council gets?
Nope.
Never.
Nope.
Then you aren't listening to people in the community
Well, maybe I'm listening to the right people.
who are saying you should get health insurance.
I'm putting money in it.
Oh my God.
Liz, he's getting paid for it though. Like, I think,
Kathy, the amount that the city employees contribute to health insurance is nothing compared to what people contribute in the private sector.
There's a difference between private and sector and government.
Right. Government gets the goodies.
And
That's why nothing will ever change. Nothing will ever change. No cuts will ever be made. No one will ever endure any pain while the rest of the citizens have to.
Liz, this is Michael Keys. Well, I will say I don't have the city's health care because I health care with my primary employer. But the plan that the city people are offered They pay a fair amount into that plan. And if you heard what Mr. Witherspoon says, that his plan almost eats up the entire $6,000 that he receives for being on city council.
It's a
So,
Cadillac
because I looked
sedan.
at it and it was almost a net even for, serving for just health care. And so those are things that, that can be looked at, but, to, Ms. Stankevich's point that the elected officials haven't had a raise since 1986.
I think we should actually take,
all of them included. There's been nowhere in any business, including minimum wage, that hasn't had a raise in 35 years.
I think we should actually have a pay cut. Most people, I should
Okay.
say most, a number of people on city council work about,
Move for
I'd
adjournment.
say, I figured out the hours, and you earn about $62 an hour. Some of us on city council get paid the same amount and work many hours. I think we should take a pay cut. Yes, I'm being provocative because I work hard and it's a worthless task. It is a worthless task. Budget sessions are a worthless task. I have yet to see council make any cuts in the 3 years I've been here. It's a worthless task.
To that
Any other-
end, I don't disagree with you that I am shocked that we're $3 or $6 million in the hole and that there's no proposals other than business as usual from the administration. But as council, it's our prerogative to go through it line by line. If you want to sit down and do it, that's fine. Let's sit down and do it.
I'm not going to spend the time doing it because we spent time and it doesn't produce anything. If someone can show me what it produced in the last 3 years, I will be happy to consider what you have to say. I have not seen any input from council that resulted in anything productive in the budget. Not a thing.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I think last budget session, I asked for a balanced budget without using any of the water money. Ms. Ellen is right from that standpoint. We're sitting here and we know the people, Public Works, they're all working hard. We know they're doing a great job. We're talking about money and we're not talking about money. Either I didn't say it loud enough or the powers that be don't want us to know. I'd like to know. That's all I got.
I mentioned renegotiating EMTA. That's $500,000.
That's right, Dave. Perfect. Where did it go? Did anybody listen? You know what I'm saying? That's how I feel. I asked those questions before. I gave a mail out of all the tax situations where multiple landlords having multiple properties are deficient over years. Everybody saw it, but nobody wanted to do anything about it. I'm trying to find, like you, places where there might be money that we can help. I don't want to touch that water money. I said it before. I'm not playing Santa with it and then trying to face people in a few years knowing that we hurt the city by playing that game. That's all I have. Thank you.
So then we talk about where we can cut, and yesterday we're voting to give Chris Groner $2 million that don't have all the details where it's going, but that's $2 million. Once again, is that a time-sensitive thing, a necessity, or is it something we can discuss more and decide if it's 2 million or we can get away with $1 million or 500,000. Last year, we gave 2 million and raised taxes. If we would have given 1 million, we could have cut that tax increase in half. There was no appetite on council for any of that. We can talk little numbers, or you want to talk the big numbers. Now we have a water reserve or water pre-lease monies. That's almost going to be as hard as working if we're working on a budget deficit. But we definitely, that is the key to this year and years to come. So the last thing we want to do is rush and make decisions on that without having good discussion.
Mr. President,
Yes.
do we know anything at all about the sewer and garbage fee? We talked about that before. I understand it's something between 500,000 and 600,000 that would bring in. Take 500,000 out of Groner's fee. We got to find money someplace. And I think we've been through the first part of the budget, and Paul's worked real hard to show us that. Now it's our job to look at that money and find out different ways that we can use it. 'Cause I don't want to face the folks that aren't a fixed income and tell them that they're going to get their sewer bill and their garbage bill again. That's not big money, but it is a big thing for those folks. Go out and ask them. Thank you.
And I guess what I did figure on a weekly basis, and this is whether people put out 1 little bag of garbage or 6 bags and compost and recyclables, each taxpaying entity in the city or citizen in the city is paying $5 a week.
For 2 bundles. Yeah.
Sometimes for that 1 little bag. I'm thinking of the seniors mostly.
Exactly.
Well,
Isn't it funny how
Jim,
quiet it
there
gets
is a
when we talk about
program.
cuts?
There is a
I'm sorry.
program, I believe, that like in Mill Creek where seniors can get a discount rate if they use less garbage. I don't know exactly how it's the details of it, but I do know that they do have something in their somewhere in their rules to accommodate that.
Which I don't mind paying more. I don't think the majority on council minds paying more. I just feel for the seniors, I just don't feel it's fair for them. That's all.
Well,
I
Jim,
know cost goes up. Yes, sir.
there is a 10% discount on refuse fees for anybody on the PACE program.
Okay, that's a start.
Or that has a medical assistance card. I know those are the two things one of the 2 things you have to have, and you get a 10% discount. And that's been in place for many, many, many years.
The vast majority of people on a fixed income are too proud to admit that they would need those things, Paul.
Okay.
I'm sure you wouldn't. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't. That's my point, because those are the folks that were hurting.
Mhm.
The ones that want to play that game and get that pace or get whatever else there's out there. I appreciate that you're letting us know that those things are out there. But I don't know how many old Polish folks you know or old Italian folks you know, but they got a lot of pride, and it's troublesome.
Well, I do have something good to say. I was reading on the internet yesterday and I found an article. I saved it, but I don't think I shared it. The city of Erie is nationally recognized in this article from a realtor that studies things across the country, and Erie is an inexpensive place to buy a house. We were mentioned. It said Erie, PA. So that's good news.
Yes, it is.
For appreciation.
No, really, when you think about it, like my house where I live is, just a little modest house, but in California or Florida or Maryland, DC area, you'd pay big bucks for it.
You are right. Erie is one unique community, and we do realize that. Any other comments, council? I'm gonna we'll try to get together one time before the Thanksgiving weekend, maybe Monday or Tuesday of next week. And then if we need to go beyond that, we will set something up accordingly.
I want to thank you, everybody, for attending. And thank you, Paul. And thank you, Mayor Joe and your administration. Seriously, though, like even this Thanksgiving, we're making a comeback. Just think of, we had the welcoming, Meekin Carpenter, we have Welcoming America status. It's only second title in Pennsylvania, and what was it, 14 or something in the nation. And think of all the work that's being done with blighted properties, and there is so many grant writers that have been writing grants to help the citizens with their properties. And our services, right across the street, I have a fire hydrant, and I have I see the firefighters go by my house to check on people in my neighborhood. On my block, we've had 3 fires in the last 10 years or so. So I've witnessed, the firefighters in action just in one block in 10 years. So, we have good services out there, and I guess we have to pay for it.
Yes, very much agreed. All right, everyone. Well, thank you all once again.
Jim?
Paul, Mayor, Miscellaneous, thank you, colleagues.
In-
We'll
Jim?
yes.
In preparation of Monday or Tuesday, is there?
Well, why don't we just go with Tuesday, 6 o'clock? We'll set it
Okay.
up tonight.
And then, is there anything council as a group wants me to prepare? Or would send me questions, or will it just be deliberations on your part at that point in time? Yeah, I guess you as a group talk that over.
Okay. Very good. All righty, everyone. Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Have a good night.
Take care. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.